Hi everybody, Dory here. Welcome to my channel and to the Something Old, Something New YouTube Hop sponsored by Kiona Baker at Handmade Happiness. The theme was to select 2 card kits from a year apart and create cards using the same technique with products from the different kits. The first kit I subscribed to was Hero Art's My Monthly Hero back in March of 2019. I pulled out my June 2019 kit featuring biology and botany from the jungle and included a Daniel Smith dot card. And I was thrilled to get my May 2020 kit in time for the hop. It seemed so timely to focus on keeping in touch in ways other than in person, and the kit is all about the act of making and sending handmade greetings. This kit not only has images designed to make a great card, but it also has plenty of stamps designed to decorate your envelope. The technique I'm using was inspired by a card made by Christina Werner about a year ago and involves my favorite medium, watercolor. I'm using some pre-made 5x7 Strathmore greeting cards. They're not watercolor, but they are a good weight. I'm using I decided on 3 images to use on each of my cards, and once I figured those out, I measured out the space I needed for each and used washi tape to create a grid to paint in. I'm using Altene's 24 pan artist watercolor set, which is my favorite watercolor paint for cards. On this first card, I'm using 2 shades of blue named Crystal Water and Starry Night and a gorgeous green called Seashore. I painted the grid squares very loosely, not trying to get the colors even or even to fill out the squares completely. While the paint was still wet, I added some Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton? Yes, Winsor Newton gold gouache. I did the same thing with the gouache as I did with the paint, just kind of made marks on the paper and didn't try to put down even amounts of the gouache on the squares. Excuse me. I heat set the paint with my Wagner tool and then pulled off the washi tape. The tape was great at keeping the paint all within the lines, but I did tear off a little bit of the paper. Not enough to bother me, but I've certainly had worse happen pulling tape off of watercolor paper or cardstock before. So my next step is to put a sentiment on this card, and Hero Arts never disappoints with the sentiments either, and I chose one that says "You amaze me" and stamped it using my Misty in the center of the underneath the squares. I used VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and which gives you a really nice crisp image, especially with sentiments. The next step was to stamp the images I was going to use, and I used the Onyx Black ink again. Offline, I fussy cut the sentiments out, and I used a Micron black pen. It's a Graphic One. It's got a brush tip on it. And here's a helpful hint: do it from the back side of your image when you're coloring that side in black or any color, because you're not going to make a mess when you slip. I admit that I've gotten pretty slack at, I just slap it down when I'm doing it from the back because I know it's not going to ruin my image. But even under the best circumstances, especially on images like this that are fine details, I'll slip at least once and have a little mark on the image. I glued them down so you can see the black on the back where I slipped. I glued the images down to the squares using Gina K's Connect glue. And I am going to finish it all off using, I'm weighed each one down. Yeah, I got a big mess on the back of that elephant there. But I weighed each of the images down using whatever was handy there on my desk, and I finished off the card adding sequins that were kind of rainbowy, iridescent-y, that were in my stash. I was frankly too lazy to get up and find my tool to move those. The My Monthly Hero kits always include a 6x8 stamp set with coordinating dies, and they really did not disappoint this time. They had 7 little special, what do they call them, fancy dies that were just adorable. That hot air balloon and a cloud and a couple of paper airplanes. There was a cloud with a rainbow. Another airplane, and an inset, the word hello in the shape of a banner. Once I figured out kind of what I was going to use, I did change my mind right up at the last minute, I think, but I figured out what I needed to mark off for my grid, and I used the watercolor paper again. Showed you my water there just to let you know that I was going to go change the water. For this card, I used the pinks, oranges, and yellows, and I accidentally made that orange by mixing my pink, which, look at that. That is just what made me fall in love with watercolor last August when I first started watercoloring. That pink, which is called Cherry Blossom, just moves all by itself in there. So I used the yellow is called, I will tell you what the yellow is called, A Pocket Full of Sunshine, and the pink is Cherry Blossom, and I accidentally mixed the two of them and made an orange there that I added. And I did the same thing and used the gold gouache again. Right here I noticed that I had a little too much water, and I mopped it out with using a dry-ish brush. I blotted it off on that paper towel and sucked the water out with my brush. I used the gouache again. Just kind of scribbling it on with the paintbrush. And I am going to use that gold gouache again to run around the edges of my images. Since they weren't stamped, I didn't need to color the edges. I did heat set it again with my heat gun. This time I pulled the washi tape off while I had the heat on it, and it was a little awkward, but it did not rip one bit. So if you could manage to do that, to get that tape off while it's still warm, great way to do it. I finally decided on my 3 images, and I am going to I'm figuring out that I had the airplane upside down. Like I said, it has a little hello in the shape of a banner, which doesn't cut it out, it just insets it. So I fussy cut the shape of a banner out and used that on the front of my card. Like that airplane is pulling it along behind it. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and take the gold gouache and paint along the edges of all those images to kind of make them stand out a little bit. This is Blog Hop, and all the other participants will be listed down below in the description of the video. So please visit everybody and check out their techniques they're trying. There are 12 of us, I believe, and everybody is doing the same thing. 2 kits that they got a year apart, and you can learn a lot, I think. So I chose the sentiment from this kit that says sending something. What does it say? Sending you love. And I used Brutus Monroe Gilded embossing powder and heat set that. I finished this card off with some sequins as well. This time I used some little gold ones. And those are my 2 cards. There are some still pictures of them at the end. In the meantime, please check out the other participants' videos in the hop, and all the product that I used will be linked down below in the description box. I would really appreciate if you gave me a thumbs up and subscribe to my video, and I appreciate you coming, and I hope you come again.